What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Adonis Stevenson retains his light heavyweight title. He defends against Sakio Bika, so congratulations. And for my post fights, if you've never watched one of my post fights before, I'm going to tell you guys like this. If you're not a fan of the truth, you want people to sugarcoat things, this is not the video for you, so you might as well hit the pause button, hit the X on the top of your screen, and not watch this because that's not what I do. I really go off of what I've seen. And for this performance, it's really weird because on one hand you could say, yeah, he pretty much dominated or won the rounds, but I feel this performance deserves some criticism because if you think about it, Adonis Stevenson is the lineal light heavyweight champion. So to hold that title, I feel you're kind of on a pedestal, even though there's other people in the division or whatever. You're supposed to be the man, and given what I've seen, there's no way I told you guys this before, but especially after seeing this, there's no way that I could even picture him beating Sergey Kovalev. And I'm going to break it down. And again, I'm not trying to shit on his win, on his victory or anything. He seems like a cool dude. I'm just going off of what I've seen in the fight. Now, the reason I say that is the same reason I have said it mostly. Adonis Stevenson is a left-hand dominant fighter. And it really showed in this particular fight, and not in a good way. Now, it's funny because it reminds me of Manny Pacquiao in a way. And I don't want to hear no dumbass comments like, duh, it's not Adonis isn't Pacquiao. Like, duh, I'm not talking about they're the same fighters. But for the most part, they are fighters who have their primary weapon, which is their left hand. But the difference with Pacquiao is he's a little dude. He's a smaller guy. He has good conditioning. He knows how to boom, 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 and then move out of position, hit you from angles. So there's more variety. Plus, he's faster. Pacquiao is extremely fast. So it works for Pacquiao a bit more than Adonis Stevenson. But when you look at Stevenson, he seems to fatigue sometimes in spurts or in the second half of the fight. I think the Funfaro fight, he started to fatigue. This fight, there were spots where it looked like he fatigued and had to get a second win, and he was breathing heavy. He's not as fast as Pacquiao, and it's weird. He has his left hand like permanently cocked, like he's just waiting to throw that punch. So the problem is you got other killers in the division. You got guys like Sergey Kovalev, who is a champion in the division. I really just don't see that being enough. Like, if you can neutralize or get past the left hand or deal with the left hand, then it's like easy pickings because he's so left hand dominant. It's insane because that's, you know what I mean, that's his go-to punch. He like literally does nothing with the right. And honestly, what I feel is if Adonis Stevenson worked on throwing the right just to the point, like, okay, that's fine if it never gets to the point where it's your money punch or as effective as your left hand, but it could set things up. Even if you had like a crisp right and it was just you practice that and worked on it to the point where it'll help you deliver your left, that is your money punch, instead of like punching with one arm basically. And it's weird because when I watch Adonis Stevenson, when I watch it, he holds it up. He, like, the way he fights is so one dimensional, like one trick pony with his one hand. It reminds me of when I've seen fighters where they get a fucked up hand, where they injure their hand in the fight, and then they got to fight with one, like Lomachenko on the Pacquiao Algieri undercard. He hurt his hand, and if you looked at how he was fighting like a one-handed fighter. Gary Russell Jr., there was a fight where he had, and he busted up his hand, fractured it or something, and that's how he's fighting. But Adonis Stevenson, with no fractures or nothing wrong with his hand, fights like that. He has it up real high and like throws it. I don't know. It's really weird. So I'm not convinced that Kovalev wouldn't beat Adonis Stevenson. I think he, in fact, would. And I've said this for some time. The chin issues, the stamina issues, and just being such a one-hand fighter. Whereas you look at Kovalev, and Kovalev has power in both hands. He seems tough. I've seen him take some pretty good shots from Jean Pascal and whoever else. So I just really don't see it. And again, I'm not trying to veer off too much. I want to talk about the Bika fight. But you look at Bika, this is a guy, and trust me, I realize you cannot knock out everybody. You simply can't. Right? So I take that in consideration. However, Bika is a guy that came up from 168 to 175. So he traveled up a good amount of pounds, and this was his first fight, if I'm not mistaken, at light heavyweight, right? Bika, I give him tons of props for having mad heart. I mean, he took some vicious shots. He got knocked down. I don't know how many times it was official, but one was definitely an official knockdown. The other ones he said it was a slip or whatever. Either way, he's tough. But he's very, very, like, he lacks a lot of technique and technical abilities. And he's kind of like almost primitive in the way he fights. It's like everything's just kind of rough and dirty and like rough and tumble. It's like Toriano Johnson, if you've seen the fight with him and like Curtis Stevens, it reminds you of Toriano Johnson, but maybe even a bit sloppier than Toriano Johnson. You know what I'm saying? He's just real rugged, rabbit punch. He was throwing forearms. He comes in all awkward and crazy. And the point being is if he moved up in weight to 175 and fought Artur Beterbiev like he was fighting, if he fought Sergey Kovalev like he was fighting, I'm talking about Bika, I think those dudes would probably have stopped him and destroyed him. You know what I mean? It's just something with the accuracy. And with Adonis Stevenson, I really feel he gets kind of in these lulls where he's just like just going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when I watch Kovalev, he has his man hurt. He's a good finisher. And it's like he's like, I don't want to carry this fight. You know what I mean? His nature seems like, I don't want to go to round 10 and 11, 12 when this guy's hurt in round 4, or I can get him out of there. So it seems like that's more of his MO. But with Adonis Stevenson, it looks like he has these like dry spells where he's just kind of going through the motions and like really not applying pressure. Some of his game plan just seems shaky. Like he was doing a great job of going to the body early, then he kind of broke away and then really wasn't doing it. Obviously, Bika got a chin, so why'd you stop going to the body? That just seems like it makes all the sense in the world. Then he tries to showboat randomly. And I told you guys, one of my all-time favorite fighters is Prince Nassim and Roy Jones Jr., the ultimate showboaters. So I don't care about trash talk. I don't care if you showboat. I like that, actually. However, there's a fine difference between the way Nassim did it, the way Roy Jones did it, and the way Adonis Stevenson does it. I think Adonis Stevenson or whoever else showboats like this, Broner sometimes too, you have to have a firm grip of the round or the fight in general before you could do the showboating and it looks cool. Roy Jones will be dominating and then put his hands behind his back and start dancing and doing chicken fighting and all kinds of shit, but he was embarrassing his opponent. But with Adonis Stevenson, he was getting, like, if you look at the 11th round, it's like he's showboating, trying to get the crowd into it, but he shouldn't be showboating. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all, if you were to fight a guy like Artur Beterbiev, who looked great today, or Kovalev, I just don't see that as being helpful because to me, he's not a Roy Jones Jr.-esque person where he's just this freakish athlete to that degree where he could showboat and not pay and not have those guys capitalize on those mistakes. So all in all, I probably expected more from Adonis Stevenson. And again, I understand if you couldn't get the guy out of there, but you got a guy who's just mad sloppy. He kind of reminds me of a Bika is like a watered down K9 Bundridge type, even like just real wild, winging, loopy type shots. And he was counterpunching. And he looked good in counterpunching, but then he kind of broke away from it. And if you look at the 11th and 12th round, you got a desperate-ass Sakio Bika who's just winging shots, throwing these wide, crazy-ass shots. And he was actually touching him. He was actually connecting with Adonis Stevenson. So all in all, it's a fun fight, but I expected more from the lineal middleweight champion. And again, I really don't see him beating Kovalev. And I don't even know if he could beat Artur Beterbiev just based on kind of the things I talked about in this video, having the left-hand dominant syndrome where he doesn't really do anything with his right, not mixing it up. I would like to see a more of an arsenal, more punch variety from him. Like, if you look at Mayweather, he's really good with his right hand. And if you watch the fight with Robert Guerrero, he threw his right hand from so many different angles in so many different ways. It was like Robert Guerrero couldn't do nothing with Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? And you got a guy who's just definitely lacks all real fundamentals, not jabbing, just coming straight in, head down, fucking rabbit punching, all kinds of stuff. like Sakio Bika, someone who makes an ugly, awkward type fight, even his fights with Darrell. And I don't feel Adonis Stevenson for the whole fight had firm control over the fight. I think Anthony Darrell, once he settled down and let his emotions settle down in the rematch, he had more of a boxing approach to it and calmed down a bit more. Whereas Adonis Stevenson, it was just like a wild. It was like almost like a street fight. You know what I'm saying? Where one guy gets hit and this guy gets hit. I mean, all in all, Adonis Stevenson. I mean, if you guys are content with his performance, that's fine. It was a fun, wily type fight, but I wasn't too impressed. I expected more, especially when the guys coming at like I said, come at Floyd Mayweather the same way Bika was coming at Adonis Stevenson, obviously in his division. You know what I mean? Get a welterweight coming all crazy like that and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get embarrassed and get touched up bad. So I feel like I thought Adonis Stevenson was more of a complete fighter than he actually is. Like, I looked at the Tavoris Cloud, and I take in consideration Tavoris Cloud is a very one-dimensional guy. But he looked real good in that fight to me. He was like good speed and mixing it up, athletic, and he was like more patient. Now it's like he's trying to be this entertainer and showboat and only using his left. I don't know, man. I just wasn't too impressed with it. It was a fun fight though. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Adonis Stevenson retaining his light heavyweight title. Can he beat Kovalev? Can he beat Artur Beterbiev? What do you think of Sakio Bika? Should he drop back down to 168? Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.